Welcome, friends, it's the Movie Film Podcast. Movie Film Podcast, enjoy the show. Zachy and Brian are talking about the movies. Movie Film Podcast on the radio. Welcome to Movie Film. This is episode 138, brought to you by Mr. Boy Productions. My name is Zachy Hassan, and I am here with my friend Brian Hall.
Hey, good morning, Zachy.
Good morning and good post-Christmas. Is that a thing?
Yeah, I think so.
Now, I haven't talked to you since before the holiday. How was your Christmas? Did you? What kind of presents did you get? Let's be honest. That's really what it's about.
Well, actually, I had a very nice Christmas. My family came in from out of town, which is always great, of course. And the unfortunate thing was I ended up getting sick on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And so we were supposed to record yesterday, but I was still kind of recovering. But coming through this morning, so I apologize for a few throat clearings and whatnot. But ready to rock as I sit next to my giant inflatable Tyrannosaurus Rex costume.
Was that a Christmas present that you got?
No, I'm just kidding. But I've seen that on the internet a lot.
Yeah, what is with those? That's become a thing now.
Yeah, they do. Some of those videos make me laugh.
Yeah.
I got a few. I'd kind of gotten into. This sounds so hipster. I kind of got into vinyl the past year, and
oh my god,
I got a couple.
I might have to end this show right now.
yeah. But and then the big gift, actually, if anyone's interested, is my parents and my brother went in to get me a bike.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I've been wanting to exercise a little bit more, and I hate running. And there's a bike path not too far from where I live, so I was like, oh, bike, it's perfect. So I'm really excited.
That's a very grown-up present.
Yeah.
It's weird how, like, when you're a kid, you're really excited to get a bike, and then when you're an old man, you're excited to get a bike.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've come full circle.
Yeah. Have you been enjoying some time off?
Well, time off, yes. Enjoying, I'm not so sure, because my time off also coincides with my kids having time off, which means I don't get time off.
Right.
So it's been a lot of it's been some time, you know.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the positive. I've been going through a lot of end of year movies, which is nice. I finally have time to work through the stack of screeners that I got in the lead up to awards voting. So that's been kind of nice. A lot of stuff that I've been sort of hearing about, but I haven't seen any footage from, and so got a chance to go through those. You know.
Yeah, how great is that? That you can, in the comfort of your home, right?
Yeah,
at your own.
It's. I mean, given my choice, I'd rather go to the theater and watch it. But
sure.
If everything lines up and there's no distractions, man, there's nothing like sitting at home and just going through it and putting on one DVD after the other. You know.
Totally.
The wife and I, we don't get to go to movies together, so this is as close as we get.
Yeah. Right.
But actually, I mean, this is an older movie that I just rewatched. I just rewatched Titanic. The whole way through. I think I mentioned last time that I watched a few minutes of it, and then I didn't realize that the actual 20th anniversary of the movie was like 2 weeks ago, and I realized that as I was sitting there watching on my TV, and I was like, hey, we should just watch Titanic, and I actually haven't seen the movie the whole way through since 1998.
Really?
Yeah, believe it or not.
Oh, wow. I did not realize. We've talked about it. It's come up so many times. I had no idea.
Like, I've seen bits and pieces of it, like if it was on TV or something, I'd watch some of it. But from beginning to end, I have not watched it. I mean, because I saw it 3 times in 98.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I've given, 16 hours of my life to this movie. I think I'm good. I get the gist of it.
Yeah.
But in a way, that was great. First of all, my gosh, like, where did 20 years go, right?
Oh yeah.
But really, I mean, it's astounding to me how well it holds up.
Obviously, this isn't the most important aspect of it. Stories are most important, but visually, for something that's 20 years old, but from such a visionary, master, how does that look?
Yeah.
20 years later. I mean, visually, how does it hold up?
It seems timeless.
Wow.
I mean,
that's great.
Yeah, and I think that really goes to Cameron's abilities to. I mean, he doesn't. He doesn't lean into the technology in the sense that he's like he relies on the technology to fill in the gaps as a filmmaker. Like he's not that kind of director, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say because and especially because it was in the early days of CG,
Right.
where it could have the potential to not hold up. So
Yeah,
well.
and I think honestly, I mean, it's no secret what a taskmaster he is on the set, and people had sort of Stockholm syndrome by the end of the shoot,
right,
dealing with him. But I mean, I think the payoff there is that the exacting amount of perfection he demanded from himself really made that film something that is worth revisiting, and I think completely separate from that moment where it was really enveloped by the hype. I mean, it's still a really good movie. The performances are very solid. I was joking online about Billy Zane being sort of this cartoon character villain.
Yeah.
Which I still find funny. Like they basically find every like historically wrong opinion to put in his mouth.
Yeah.
Like Kate Winslet's like putting up these pictures. He's like, who did these? Oh, something Picasso. Something Picasso. He won't amount to a hill of beans, I tell you.
Yeah, right.
And there will never be a Catholic president, I swear.
Does he say that?
No, but he might as well have,
Something, I believed it, actually. That's why I asked.
But it was funny, actually, because I made that comment online, and people rushed to Billy Zane's defense. So that was, people like, don't you dare talk badly about Billy Zane. I'm like, Billy Zane is fine. He's playing the role he's given.
Oh, yeah, and it oddly, I haven't seen it in a while, but it oddly fits. Like, it oddly kind of works.
It's a very, like, Snidely Whiplash type character.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And I guess in the context of the movie, that's totally fine. I mean, again, he plays the role he's given. I'm a Billy Zane fan, just to be clear. But it's pretty darn good, I gotta say. I mean the by the end of the thing at the end when and it's funny because my wife and I were having this debate about whether Rose is dead at the end. And
yes,
and I didn't even realize that was a point of debate. I was like, of course she's dead, but apparently that is left vague.
Yeah, I've always assumed that she died, but I've heard that people are debating. Yeah.
So speaking of quality filmmaking, this seems like a perfect transition to make. I know you've seen a few things, Brian.
Yeah, I've actually seen quite a few, so I'm going to try to go through them quickly. But yes, keeping with the quality filmmaking, I saw The Disaster Artist.
Okay, so I've been waiting to hear your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, so this is, of course, James Franco's directed, starring movie about Tommy Wiseau, who made the cult classic The Room, which is a cult classic because it's supposedly one of the worst movies ever made. And I have mentioned before that, being out in Los Angeles for so long, I was around for The Mysterious Billboard. I was around when it became a midnight hit and got to see it as it became the Rocky Horror sort of spectacle that it became, when he would show up and actually play catch with people, and play football out in the parking lots and whatnot. So I had a real huge interest in this, and I gotta say, I really enjoyed this movie a lot. Have you seen it?
I have. I've seen it twice now.
Okay, yeah. I mean, and I don't know if it helps that I'm endeared toward this story to begin with. It may.
I don't think you need to be, though. I mean, I
don't think so either.
I think it's very sweet on some level.
Yeah, I saw it with my brother, and he has not seen The Room, and he really loved it too. So, but I did wonder because I really am compelled by this whole thing, and I'm also compelled by filmmaking in general. So it already kind of has my interest, because it's about people that can't figure out their place in Hollywood, so they decide to make their own place. And
I feel like people who can't figure out their place in Hollywood is like 87% of people in Hollywood.
Right. And I think it's just, I think it's about passion. It's about passion. And I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to. And I think they do a really good job of making you not laugh at this person for failing. I think they make you understand why he did what he did. And the move, in the end, I think the movie isn't laughing at the whole event. And so I left feeling, very positive on it, and making me want to rewatch The Room, to be honest. Now you see a little bit more of the behind the scenes that were going on. And
yeah, I love during the end credits, they have like the comparison where they have the scene from The Room and then they reshot it for the Disaster Artist.
Yeah, and they're like literally in sync with one another.
It's pretty crazy.
They recreated it so well. So what did you think about it then?
I really enjoyed it. I think that the balancing act is that you need to somehow end up on the side of Tommy, even though he's sort of an absurd character.
Yeah.
And the thought I had was like, I really hope he doesn't turn out to be like a serial killer and we just didn't know it.
Totally. And he doesn't always behave in a really pleasant way.
Yes. I think that really, like, you have to end up at a place where, because the film winds up and it says how Greg Sestero and Tommy, they still talk to each other every day and this and that. You need to end up at a place where you buy their friendship, this very, very unlikely friendship, and I think that's a trick. I think it helps. I think this is the best work Dave Franco's ever done.
Oh, for sure.
And I think and it's funny because I was watching some YouTube videos from like 2008 or 2009 where it was like acting with James Franco and Dave Franco is like in it, and he's like this
funny
kid. He's like this little kid.
Huh.
Right. So we've really seen him progress. So I think it works that he is very much because I've mentioned that I listened to the audiobook read by Greg Sestero, so I feel like I have a good insight into Greg anyway, and so I feel like Dave Franco really, really encapsulated that. I think James Franco almost had the harder job because he had to come off not like a Saturday Night Live character.
Yeah, and he does a really good job. I kept finding myself chuckling, not at the character, but just at how well he inhabited the character. Like his sort of kind of laugh that he does. I was like, he is the guy. It's unbelievable. Like a guy who's almost impossible to do an impersonation of without sounding like an SNL character.
Right. And there's a scene in the movie where he finds a Hollywood player played by Judd Apatow. I'm going to assume it is not actually Judd Apatow that he met,
Right.
But, Judd Apatow just kind of reads him the riot act because he wants him to, give him a shot, right?
Right.
And I feel like that's like the moment in the movie where like the wheels turn for him to make this thing on his own. And the thought I had was like, you have to be on his side after he just humiliates himself. Mm-hmm. And I think the movie does that, where it makes you feel bad for Tommy as opposed to being like, well, of course, you idiot. What's going to happen if you disturb somebody while they're eating?
It's funny. I wasn't going to call out any scenes in particular necessarily, but that scene, I really admired that scene a lot because that could have been guy goes up and talks to jerk and then he da-da-da-da-da. But Judd Apatow played that in a really interesting way.
He did.
Where he was rude, but like deservedly so.
Right.
But at the same time, there's this weird, he takes enough time to actually interact with Tommy.
Yeah.
In a way that's almost kind.
Yes.
And I don't know. There was something about that where I was like, not every movie would have gone through the work to make this scene what it was. And I thought Judd Apatow did a really good job.
He was really good. I think Seth Rogen is funny in the movie, but he's Seth Rogen in the movie.
Yeah, I didn't mind it, and he's kind of necessary, but he is the guy who's supposed to say the things. Like, it's okay, you can think this. Yeah.
Yeah. And my sense from the book is that Sandy Sklar, the character he plays, was not as sort of like front and center the way he is, the way Seth Rogen's version of the character is.
Right.
And it's funny too, actually, because that guy Sandy Sklar is now like trying to claim credit. Like, no, actually, I directed The Room. I'm like, why do you want credit for that? Like, that's weird,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I went and saw it with some filmmaker friends, and one of them's in the AD department, and she was like, the script supervisor would not be calling cut. So,
right, exactly.
But it's like,
right?
you have to, I mean, I don't know how that set operated, but I also accept that you have to truncate some things. You can't.
A little bit of license, and they did do that. They definitely compressed a lot of stuff. But yeah, it's a definite thumbs up.
Yeah. And then I also saw, on the other end of the spectrum, I saw the latest Steven Spielberg movie.
Oh, man. I want to hear your thoughts on this.
The Post. And I have to say up front that I was very fortunate to go see a screening of this at the DGA. Nice. And Spielberg was in attendance and gave a Q&A afterwards.
Wow.
So obviously, you're pretty high on the whole experience in the room. But I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was. I heard another review of some people calling it slight, where they were saying it's basically all leading up to one decision. And I was like, well, yeah, but that's what this story is, and so you are seeing what these people were going through in the lead up to this decision. And right. Maybe it's not as meaty per se as say something like Spotlight was or whatnot, but I don't know. I found the characters very interesting. I found the drama compelling. I enjoyed The Post. I don't know. What did you think?
Well, I had mentioned it to you before. I mean, this is kind of, it's like my sweet spot. I mean, it checks off like 3 of my boxes. Steven Spielberg movie starring Tom Hanks about crusading journalists. Yeah. I'm done. Give me a cigarette. You know what I mean?
I mean, I completely agree with you. And if you're a fan of those things, this movie is going to satisfy you.
Yes.
I believe. And it also sort of gives you a little glimpse into like a world that I don't know, which is that, back in the day, these journalists and the people that ran these newspapers, editors, whatnot, they were hobnobbing with presidents.
Right.
Which is crazy to me. And they had these people who were part of presidents' cabinets and whatnot at their backyard dinner parties. And
yeah, it's there's a terrific moment in there. Katharine Graham is the publisher of the Post. She's played by Meryl Streep, and she's talking to Ben Bradley, who's the editor. Played by Tom Hanks, and Tom Hanks has this great, and it's funny because he has this delivery where he's kind of talking like this a little bit.
Yeah.
And so some people have called that out. I actually don't mind that just as an actorly choice because it's representative of who Ben Bradley was.
Right.
I get why people are calling it out because Tom Hanks' delivery is so distinctive.
Right, sure.
That when he deviates from that, it causes consternation sometimes. But he has his monologue where he's talking about his friendship with Jack Kennedy, and how he didn't realize that you can be a friend or you can be a source. You can't be both.
Right.
And how after Kennedy's body was brought home, how Jackie said to him, none of this goes in your newspaper.
Right. With blood still on her clothes.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so he had that realization that we can't be both. Like we have a job. You know. And it occurred to me, it's like, well, would you be saying that if it was a Democrat in the White House? I don't know, because he was talking about Nixon.
Right.
Like, we got to go after Nixon. It's like, well, would he be saying the same thing? I don't know. I mean, I think all of these questions are what the movie's about. But I think especially it's one of those movies that feels especially timely today because of the First Amendment is just kind of under assault right now. But I think it'll be timeless for years and years to come.
Yeah, and I think it goes without saying, being that Steven Spielberg, we all recognize his ability, but this does feel like a smaller scale. Actually, I feel like I said this a couple of years ago, where I said I want to see Steven Spielberg make a $20 million movie.
Yes.
Again, and I don't. I'm sure this didn't cost $20 million, but it feels that way, in that it's just actors and locations.
It's just great actors. I mean, there's. I think I mentioned this previously. I mean, there's this one shot where it's like, you've got Meryl Streep in the foreground on like a sofa, and then you've got Tom Hanks sort of behind her in the background, and they're just having a conversation. And the shot it just stays on a 2-shot.
Yes.
And I'm like, I could watch 90 minutes of this. I could not watch 90 minutes of Meryl Streep talking to Tom Hanks.
Yeah, it's funny because I never felt that the filmmaking got showy.
No.
But it is absolutely, like, you watch it, and if you're looking for it, you're like, this is masterclass. Like what he's doing here. Like not everyone can just like pick up a camera and shoot a movie that comes off this subtle, but is this polished and like intentional. It's really, really great. And Bob Odenkirk, by the way, like, I'm loving seeing him. He's in Disaster Artist also, and I'm a huge
Yes.
Better Call Saul fan. It's one of my absolute favorite TV shows on right now, and I'm just loving seeing him pop up everywhere. And I also, I mean, this is
And David Cross.
and David Cross, yeah, Mr. Show Reunion, which Spielberg said he was not cool enough to realize he did.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That was brought up.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, and then and also I should mention, I mean, from the conversation, he was neighbors. Spielberg was neighbors with Ben Bradley.
No kidding.
Yeah, so he was like, and we weren't close, but he's like he was a neighbor, and I was friendly with him and whatever. So that was interesting.
Now I had mentioned when I talked to you about the movie before that I felt like the ending reminded me of the end of Rogue One. The end of the post.
Okay, yes, totally.
So I was curious if you had a similar thought or if that even occurred to you.
No, it didn't. But now that you say it, that's really funny. I mean, yes.
It really, I mean, it basically ends, and then you can just pop in All the President's Men on your DVD player.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it really does feel like the prequel to that movie.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, and it's great too. Like they don't dwell on it, but getting into the whole how a newspaper. I mean, if you want to tell this story, it's like, okay, great. It comes down to the wire, but then you've got to get every single letter of your story in a little metal chunk placed into a piece that's going to, I mean, it's no small thing to put a newspaper out.
And you know what I love about that, how it shows that process, how like this is now going to be the permanent statement about this. Like I think by showing these metal things and really it really highlights the permanence as opposed to seeing something on a computer screen, for example, you know?
Yeah. And then, I mean, it goes without saying, but Meryl Streep is amazing in this movie.
Yeah.
And I think her performance at first, when she sort of feels nervous to speak up in a room full of men, or at least unheard at some points in a room, and the way that she plays it, coupled with Spielberg's amazing framing and focus, it's just all. But it's never calls attention to itself. It's just it conjures a feeling, and it's really something. So I'm glad. I wasn't sure because I listened to some other people talking about it and they weren't as high on it. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I don't think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but I thought it was a pretty darn good movie.
Yeah, it is one of my favorites for the year.
Yeah. All right, so let's keep going. Downsizing. You seen Downsizing?
I haven't.
So this is a movie by Alexander Payne with stars Matt Damon, and the trailer makes it look like Honey, I Shrunk the Adults. So basically, right. So if you are having financial, well, the way that it's sold in the movie is, we're running out of resources. We need to save the planet. And the way we can do that is by using less resources. So we've found this scientific discovery where we can shrink people down. They will use less, waste less. And the trailer is like, look at this giant bottle of vodka and things like that. And I actually read this script about a year ago because someone loved it and gave it to me to read. And I was like, oh, this is, I enjoyed this a lot because it just felt different. It felt like a good book.
Okay.
And when I was watching the movie, something about it, like some spark just was sort of missing from it. And I can't exactly explain why. And I haven't been surprised to see people not being crazy about this movie.
Yeah, people have kind of turned on it.
I think, there's several things at play. There's basically the movie turns on a dime in the middle and becomes something entirely different that I won't get into because that's sort of a plot twist sort of thing. But it like I say, it goes from Honey, I Shrunk the Adults into something much more grave. And and I think it's not what people signed up for. And I think, there's a woman, I believe, I feel terrible now. I believe she's Vietnamese. And I think people aren't too happy with her portrayal, where she becomes sort of a person of color, mystical guide to this white person finding his way. Even
though, I mean, by all accounts, her performance is fantastic. You're talking about Hong Chow.
Yeah, and I do want to say that I I don't have an opinion on that necessarily. I thought her character was really interesting, and I actually felt like Matt Damon's character did have a turn. It took me a day. This is gonna sound silly, but it took me a day to realize what his turn was, and then it just hit me randomly throughout the day, and I was like, okay, yeah, yeah, that felt, yeah, I get it. I get what the movie I think was doing. And I wanted to say, I read an interview with her where she said every interview that she's done, she's been sad to hear her portrayal called out when she says, I was just doing my mother. Like someone that looks like my mother and sounds like my mother is being represented on screen and everyone's calling it out. And she's finding it kind of disheartening. And I was like, I don't know what to make of that. I don't know who is feeling, that it's insensitive, if it's, I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's just, it's a tricky area to walk through. And I do feel bad for her because, as you said, she does do a very good job. And, I don't know.
So overall downsizing, kind of a thumbs down for you then?
Yeah. I don't know that it's worth the effort, unfortunately. All right. And then I saw, I'll try to speed up on these. I saw Shape of Water. And
yeah, so this one is getting all kinds of we actually gave Guillermo del Toro Best Director for Shape of Water at the San Francisco Film Critic Award,
which I completely understand. I really love The Shape of Water. It's very Guillermo del Toro. Like
I was about to say, isn't it like the quintessential Guillermo del Toro? Yeah,
I mean, it's sort of this 1950s-esque sci-fi fairy tale kind of thing. I don't know how to articulate this, but people were saying to me, like, you are gonna fall over yourself for this movie. You're gonna love this movie. And when I watched it, I was like, I really liked this movie. So like, I don't know that there were certain things in it that I felt it's hard to talk about it without spoiling. But on the other hand, it is beautifully realized. The two three or four lead characters, Michael Shannon, Sally Hawkins, Octavia Spencer, Doug Jones, of course. I'm trying to say Richard Jenkins. Oh man, like they're all. Oh, Michael Stuhlbarg. Yeah, all wonderful, wonderful performances.
Well, that guy, man, he's plug and play.
Oh yeah. But Richard Jenkins in particular, I think is no, they're all standout. I honestly can't single one out. They're all given crazy things to do, and they all pull them off, perfectly in the world in the atmosphere that Guillermo del Toro set up. And
it's hard for me to think of another director who's as instantly recognizable. Like if you were to show me a still from a Guillermo del Toro movie, you could be like, oh, that's Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, totally. And this is such a weird. Okay. Oh, I don't think this is a spoiler because we know it's a love story between a woman and Aquaman, basically.
Well, more like the Gillman.
Sorry, the Gill monster or whatever. The only thing I'll say is I didn't entirely buy the meet cute.
Okay.
I felt like he was actually missing a meet cute. But then the movie sells their connection so well that I was willing to look past it.
Interesting.
And just go along with, well, these guys connected and here we are. But it's so crazy, even the visual of her and this creature, but he does it. Like he pulls it off and he does make you root for their connection and their affection and whatnot. So that's why I think ultimately the movie completely succeeds. Like I said, it took me a minute to kind of leap in with them, but the movie is so convinced of itself and so in love with itself that you have to join in. So that's a thumbs up. Definitely a thumbs up. Yeah. And it's funny because, like I said, everyone said I was going to be, enamored with Shape of Water. And I was like, yeah, I really like this. And people were like, Coco is pretty good. I heard someone tell me Coco's pretty good. And I became enamored with Coco.
So this is interesting because this is a massive hit, the new Pixar movie.
Yeah.
But it's almost like people just take for granted that a Pixar movie is going to be good because it doesn't feel like much of a conversation.
No, It does not, and it's. I'm actually looking at an IMDb right now. It has an 8.8, which is a huge rating. And this was a movie. People were like, "Oh, you should go see this. Go see it in the theaters. It's beautiful." I'm like, "Yeah, I will. I'm sure I will. I don't know. Maybe I'll get a screener at some point. Kind of a thing." Yeah. And I was like, I know I'll eventually get to it. And maybe that's the other thing too. Is Pixar? I didn't see Cars 3. I wasn't crazy about Finding Dory. I know they still.
Well, that's those franchise movies, though. You know what I mean? Like,
I agree, and it wasn't that I was discounting Pixar, but I was just sort of like maybe they're putting out a lot of things as well. So
do you feel like there's been a turn in Pixar in terms of like the quality of their output?
I feel like they were putting out too many things, possibly, and it was diluting their quality a little bit.
Sure.
Isn't there one other one that I'm not thinking of?
Well, there was Inside Out a few years ago.
The Inside Out was great. But anyway, with Coco, I love this movie. It's definitely going to be like top 3 for me.
Wow.
Yeah, this is have you seen it?
Oh yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, I didn't even know what the story was about. And I just
honestly that's the best way to experience a lot of movies, obviously, but this one I think especially works well if you don't know anything about it.
Yeah, so I won't even really get into it except to say that it is a really wonderful movie about family. It has a really wonderful lead protagonist or protagonists eventually, and it's also super surprising. There's a lot of twists and turns, very dark turns. For this movie, and whereas last year I told you guys that Lion was the movie that I watched by myself and was blubbering like an idiot, and this year, I'm not kidding, man, I was on my couch sobbing over this movie, and I was so glad I wasn't around anyone else. I sobbed, like horrified cries, and then I sobbed cries of joy. Like it was, I really was swept up in this movie and taken with its characters, and it sounds silly, and maybe this is wrong of me, but part of me was like hoping it wasn't based on anything, because I love the idea that an original story could be this good. And it turns out it was an original story.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, then there's hope. There's hope for
it's first of all, on a cultural level, I love the fact that you have this massive mainstream entertainment that's really highlighting the beauty of the Dia de los Muertos celebration.
Yeah. Which
I don't think many people know about above and beyond. I mean, I feel like we're exposed to it more here in California, but I can't imagine that in many parts of the country people would know that much about it.
Right. Right.
So it's. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I'm familiar with the iconography of it.
Exactly.
But this movie explains exactly, how it works.
Yeah, and so you get something that's ethnically unique. And the fact that you're able to do that and then spin it into a story that anybody can appreciate, right?
Yes.
Because like you said, at its core, what is it about, right? It's about the connections between family members,
Yeah, and I'm certain the song is going to be nominated, for best song.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting because there's a lot of twists in there that I feel like, I mean, maybe this is just me, but I could see many of the twists coming, but I don't say that as a bad thing. Yeah,
and I'll add to that. Actually, there are a lot of times where my brain just a little thing went off, like, oh, this, and then maybe that would happen, but then they would switch it up in some way.
Right.
I felt like there was a lot of subversion, and not in a way just to make their story unique, like it did feel organic. But the story kept twisting, which I really appreciated, and like I said, in a way that felt correct.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the final 5 minutes of the movie, let's say, I was like, I'm not crying, you're crying.
Oh, man. Yeah. but not in a manipulative way,
in an earned way.
Yeah, very earned. So highly recommend Coco. I really love that. Okay, almost there.
I'm having a great time in this conversation. I have a feeling people will enjoy just hearing your thoughts on this whole litany of movies that you've seen.
All right. Well, as I mentioned, I feel like I should note that, like I said, I got the flu on Christmas Day, and then I slept entirely the next day, and then the day after that, I was sort of in a foggy fever dream, and I watched Molly's Game. So
now, I had told you about this last time, as I recall.
Can you remind me?
I mean, you know me. I'm like Aaron Sorkin fanboy number one, right? So you tell me, oh, it's a script that he wrote, and now he's directing. It's his directing debut. Well, hey, my ticket is sold. Were I in fact to buy a ticket, and I did like it, but I would not say I loved it.
That is exactly where I fell.
Oh, okay.
I think with Aaron Sorkin, I was expecting, and maybe that's my first mistake, but I was expecting something that felt it had a little more crackle, a little more electricity flowing through it. And I think that the character was very compelling, and I thought the story was very interesting, but it also felt exactly how long it was.
I think what this highlights is part of the efficacy of a Sorkin script is the ability of a director to know what to cut out and what not to cut out.
Yes. Oh, it's coming back to me now. Yes, what you said.
Certainly. I mean, like if when you look at his collaborations with Tommy Schlamme, for example, on The West Wing, or with David Fincher or Danny Boyle, etc. I mean, it's this very unique. It's this butting up against. It's how a filmmaker is interpreting these words, and that leads to a special kind of magic. That's not to say that Sorkin's not a talented director. I would gladly watch more movies that he directs.
Sure.
But I think for me the pleasure of this movie was the simpler one of just like watching Jessica Chastain and Idris Elba just toss this Sorkin dialogue at each other.
Yes.
And it's a simple pleasure,
Yeah, and the plot, which from IMDb, it says the true story of Molly Bloom, an Olympic-class skier who ran the world's most exclusive high-stakes poker game and became an FBI target. And I mean, that's super interesting.
Right.
I didn't realize the Olympic skier thing, which he cleverly sort of weaves in and out of the story, right, as almost like a funny framing device. And the whole thing about this high-stakes poker game, which involves tech billionaires and celebrities and whatnot. I mean, it's very, very interesting. And I did enjoy that her sort of tenacity and where she came from and what she learned and how she learned to use that for her benefit and all that. And it was all very interesting, but there was something about it that I just felt like I wanted a little more crackle to it.
I mean, I think to some extent, a film like this lives or dies by how much you buy into, how invested you feel in the protagonist's dilemma.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I necessarily felt that.
That's a good point that I don't even know if I realized, because she is the protagonist. So you're like, okay, I'm with you. But you're right. Like, I don't know that they really set up her stakes so much.
Right, which is ironic because this is all about a high-stakes situation that she's in, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's. I think for fans of Aaron Sorkin, it is, like you say, it is fun to hear Jessica Chastain and Idris Elba saying his dialogue and have some good moments. And
it does at times feel like Aaron Sorkin talking to Aaron Sorkin,
That's a good point, yeah.
But I thought Kevin Costner is really good in it for like a handful of minutes that he's in it.
Yeah, he gets a really good moment in particular with her. And
yes.
So I think for people who are interested, I think you will probably not regret watching it. But for those who aren't, I don't know that they're gonna.
It's not one of the year's best.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I really applaud Jessica Chastain for the type of roles that she chooses, because I feel like she's blazed a very interesting and unique trail for herself.
Oh, totally. Yeah, for sure. And it's funny you mentioned that because, like I said, as I was a little bit laid out last night, Interstellar was on TV last night, and I caught the last hour of it. Yeah, man, I really want to revisit that. That
so good.
the tension coupled with the score, coupled with the cross-cutting between McConaughey and a black hole and Jessica Chastain on Earth, I was like, man, this movie's great.
You know, it's weird how it feels like the worm has turned on that movie a little bit because people are like, it's not that good. And I'm like, man, I love Interstellar.
Yeah.
They just put out like all of the Nolan catalog, or the majority of it, in 4K.
Oh.
So Interstellar and Inception and the Dark Knight trilogy. And so I was kind of going through those and watching those, and my God, like, and Dunkirk, of course.
Right.
And like Christopher Nolan makes movies to be films, you know, like the composition of the shot. It's funny, I saw a thing online, and I want to say this was Alyssa Wilkinson from Vox. She tweeted this. She's like, I want somebody to watch Dunkirk on their Apple Watch in front of Christopher Nolan, and I want to film his reaction and show it in 70 millimeter.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Wow, I love that. Film his reaction in 70 mil.
But yeah, it's gorgeous. And actually, I mean, you mentioned Interstellar. I popped on some of Inception. Mm-hmm. And I was watching, you know, Joseph Gordon-Levitt fighting the dude in Zero G and whatever, like as this apartment is or the hotel lobby is like doing all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, man, like you forget how good that movie is.
Oh man, I think that might be maybe my favorite of his.
It's up there, yeah.
Yeah, such an original idea, so expertly realized. Something that could have been so convoluted and lose your audience, and speaking of convoluted,
I was about to say. Actually, Brian, I'm like screwing up your transition. But real quick before you get this, I should mention I saw Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle.
Oh, I want to see this.
You've seen the first Jumanji, right?
I haven't.
Really?
Yeah, I've never seen it.
You know what it's about, though, right?
I do.
So the new movie itself, it doesn't rely on having seen that original one, so don't feel like you have to watch it. But it's a very clever new take on it that I think encompasses what that movie did while doing something different. And of course, you can't go wrong by putting The Rock and Kevin Hart and Jack Black in a movie together. You're going to get a few laughs.
Yeah, it feels like something I'm in the mood for right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I'm assuming what you're not in the mood for is what you saw yesterday.
Stuck in bed. What do I got available to me? I got Netflix. Netflix has just released their biggest budgeted original movie so far, called Bright.
What is this, like $90 million?
$90 million. I mean, this is like a big theatrical Hollywood blockbuster movie that was made specifically just to be released on Netflix.
Wow.
I've heard that it has been released in a couple theaters, but the IMDb description says, set in a world where mystical creatures live side by side with humans, a human cop is forced to work with an orc to find a weapon everyone is prepared to kill for.
So this is like Alien Nation.
It is, yes, except there are fairies flying around and there are dragons over the skies of Los Angeles. Yeah, and Will Smith is partnered up with an orc played by Joel Edgerton.
Yes, and this is directed by David Ayer, by the way, who did Suicide Squad.
Yes, and Fury, and well, and I guess also End of Watch we should mention, and wrote Training Day, I believe, right?
Oh, is that? I didn't know that. Oh,
yeah, which is, I mean, this is a very LA cop movie,
and it's written by Max Landis, who I think if Pond Scum could walk like a man, that would be Max Landis.
Yeah, and it's interesting though because hold on, I have to look. Yes, he did write Training Day, which is important because there is a super specific moment from Training Day that happens again in this movie, and I was like, really?
So I should say here, I watched about 10 minutes of this, and I drifted away. I wasn't like, this sucks, I'm turning it off. I had other stuff to do, and I haven't gotten back to it. But here's my logic problem with this movie, and maybe they address it, I don't know, but I'll ask you because you've seen it. I'm like, because I look at like Alien Nation, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get the idea of Alien Nation, which is, it's the same mismatched cops, but one cop is like a fantasy character. Because you have these aliens who land on Earth, and now they're gradually assimilating into society, and then we take a human cop and an alien cop, put them together, and it's like a sci-fi Lethal Weapon. I get that.
Yes.
Here's my problem with this. We say, oh, well, it's like a human cop, Will Smith, and he's like prejudiced or whatever, right?
Right.
And then we throw him together with an orc cop in modern day LA, and what's going to happen? Okay, fair enough. Here's my problem. If we're talking about a world where orcs and dragons and fairies exist and have existed, like forever, how could we possibly end up in an LA that looks like modern day LA? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, history would fundamentally be different.
Yes. Technology would be different.
It wouldn't be like, hey, a bunch of bodegas and there's some orcs there too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. And the movie does not explain this.
Okay, so that's like where maybe I'm overthinking it, but I feel like that's a fundamental thing that you need to explain. Like that, like my brain stops working right there.
Yeah, I mean, the whole most critics are really, really dumping on this movie.
Okay.
And so when I went into, I knew that when I started it, that everyone pretty much hated this. And so I started it, and about 10, 15 minutes in, I was like, this is so awful.
Okay.
But then I was like, you know what? I was literally going nowhere. I was in bed, and I was like, I'm either going to lay here in silence for 90 more minutes or I can finish this. And I was kind of curious, like, all right, well, David Ayers, he's made some decent things. He's made some things I haven't liked as well, but I was like, and Will Smith is in this. Honestly, that was one of the biggest things. I was like, what is it about this that made him want to do this?
And did the movie answer that question for you?
No, it really didn't. And I tried, actually. I tried to turn off I think this is terrible and just sort of see what the movie was trying to do. But you know what kind of threw me off from the very, very beginning? And I know this is sort of a personal thing, but everyone was swearing so much that it struck me as someone that was trying to insist that this was serious.
Okay.
And it didn't feel organic.
Okay.
Like if I was watching Training Day or end of watching, I'm like, well, yeah, that's how these people talk. It's like tough cops talk tough, whatever. But this movie felt so silly that the tough talk felt sillier. And so immediately, again, I was like, okay, Brian, that's just you. Like, just try to buy into this world and what they're trying to do here. And it just never got me. And I will say though, and you know what another huge problem is when you talk about caring about the protagonist, I really cared about Joel Edgerton. I thought he did a very good job acting.
He's the orc.
He's the orc, sorry. And he acts through the makeup very well, and he is a very oddly sweet person in a world filled with no kind people at all. But I think the problem is that Will Smith, and I'm stealing this from somewhere else, but they were saying, Will Smith is good at playing, the fun, cocky asshole. And in this movie, he's just an asshole the whole way. And it's not fun. And you eventually I'm like, I hope you guys get new partners because Joel Edgerton, the orc, deserves better.
See, that's the interesting thing, because the conceit with these movies is usually like, the mechanics where, okay, they're going to work through their differences and then they'll have their come together moment and they save each other and then they're buddies at the end.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of in that same vein, I'm assuming.
I mean, yes, obviously it strives for that toward the end, but I felt like they really were missing something with the Will Smith character where there's got to be some grain of something that you like. And I don't know that they ever showed it. And Noomi Rapace is in this movie, and she plays like a ninja elf, and she looks cool. And like her action scenes are pretty cool. But again, she wants this magical wand because blah, 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 Lord of Darkness. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it all makes sense.
Is there a blue beam, Brian?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, the wand is literally just a blue beam. To be fair, it never shoots into the sky.
There you go. Okay, so we'll go 50% on the blue beam.
Yeah, I think it's there's something about it that kept me watching, and I think it was that I admired the ambition.
Okay.
And I really wanted to. I do kind of like the idea of this fantasy element living amongst, hardcore LA and all that, but it just never was realized in a way that became like something you could accept.
I almost feel like if you make that the result of 5 years ago, a dimensional breach, merged these two worlds together.
Zachy, I think he just fixed it. I really do. Well, okay, you fixed part of it. To be fair, but it goes on these twists and turns, and then eventually you're in this sort of orc den, which is basically I don't know. It's a mess. Long story short, it's a mess.
So and Netflix has already greenlit Bright 2.
Yeah.
Brighter, I'm assuming it's called.
Yeah. I mean, this is only for the people that and this is not. I realize this is gonna sound insulting, but people that seriously just want to switch their brains off and let something in through their eye holes. Then some of it looks kind of cool. There's actually an action sequence with a car driving through a convenience store as these people are fighting, and then someone in the car is driving down the aisles, knocking people off the doors. I was like, I like this. This is a really good sequence, but the story just doesn't add up to much. The characters don't add up to much. The whole thing doesn't add up to really much, and that's unfortunate because some of it looks pretty good.
Well, can we talk about Max Landis being the most recent addition to the accused sexual predator list?
Yeah, and that's the thing too. And I was going to have to admit this also, that knowing that he wrote it was coloring my experience a little bit as well. And I was trying to shut that off because the movie does, like I say, just in the language and in the attitude and in some of the one-liners, it feels very frat boy. But I just don't
I don't like Max Landis's persona. Even before these accusations came out, I just find him insufferable.
Ditto. And there's lines where they're someone actually gets in a car and goes, "Drive it like you stole it." And I was like, seriously? That wasn't cool 10 years ago. I don't know. But I come to find out, I started reading a little bit about it after I watched it, and he's pretty much disowned this movie.
Oh, right.
And David Ayer rewrote pretty much everything we're seeing.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I was like, oh, okay. So I mean, I don't know what to say about that, but there you go.
Well, I guess what you're telling audiences is that they should disown it too.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth most people's time.
So why don't we take a little break and we can wash the bad taste out of our mouths, and then we'll meet back here and talk about another big movie that's in theaters right now. And we're back, and Brian, I got to tell you, I feel like this episode has been hotly anticipated by many of the people in our audience based on the sheer volume of emails and texts and Facebook messages I've received asking a variation of the exact same question. What did Brian think after seeing it a second time?
Well, I know it's unexpected, but I did rewatch Bright, actually, right when it was... And I have to say, it still was terrible. No.
So Star Wars: Last Jedi. When we recorded our last episode, I had come off my second viewing, and I was quite effervescent about it. You had just seen it one time, and you were a little more you were more guarded. I wouldn't say
conflicted.
you were. Yeah, conflicted. You were feeling the pull between the light and the dark.
Absolutely.
Inside.
Well, there's this weird. I told you, I don't remember if I said this on the show, but I liked that it was a moment in time captured.
Yes.
Where I know that you were feeling a little more positive about it, but I was like, I don't know. And these are my feelings immediately after the first viewing, and I know I'm going to see it a million more times and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I've now since seen it 3 times, as is my tradition now with my 3 different groups that I see Star Wars films with every holiday season. And I'm looking forward to sort of getting back into it with you. Now, you've seen it the same amount of times, three times?
I've now seen it 3 times. I have at least one more viewing planned in the coming week.
Oh.
So it'll be 4 for me when all is said and done. And I honestly I'm happy to watch it one more time. To me it really does feel like layers of an onion, where each time I'm getting new things out of it. I do feel like there's a narrative that has sort of sprung up and calcified in between our previous recording and this one, where really people have sort of chosen up sides.
Yes.
Because either this is the movie that has saved Star Wars, or it's the movie that destroyed Star Wars.
Yeah, and it's weird that even on some podcasts that I really respect, there seems to be this like line in the sand.
Yes.
Where if you don't agree with all of this, then you are you are my enemy.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. And
Brian, only Sith deals in absolutes.
And I mean, obviously, I don't agree with that at all. And it begs to mention that these movies mean a crap ton to us, and so you go into every Star Wars movie saying, I am prepared to love this for the rest of my life. So it's a whole other experience. I mean, that's us personally. I know some people don't feel that way, but so it's a harder thing to watch a Star Wars film and then have like some sort of snap decision on how you feel about it, because there's so many things at play wrestling inside of you.
You know what's fascinating is one thing I've come to realize is how Star Wars means so much to so many different people, right? But it means so much in different ways. In other words, people's point of entry into this franchise is different, which is entirely understandable because we're talking about 40 years of content, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just a helpful thing to realize. And I mean, for me, I've said all along, and you and we discussed this before, right? Like, for us, it's the original trilogy.
Yes.
And obviously that's the case for a lot of people. And I think that maybe the mistake a lot of people make is they go into a Star Wars movie and they're like, make me feel like I did when I saw that.
Yes.
Right? And I'm not saying that's not a normal expectation necessarily, because I think of course, right? Because this is a film that really is so heavily invested in its own sense of nostalgia.
Right.
But I think the realization people have to make is, well, if you want that feeling, those movies are there for you.
Right.
And the truth of it is, I will never plug into any new Star Wars movie the way I do when I watch the original Star Wars.
True.
And I've realized that just in the last week or so, popping on the Death Star trench run. Mm-hmm. And I just feel a certain way when I watch that.
Yep.
And it's I think what we're going through right now is sort of this slow realization of and I said this last time, Star Wars is now turning into something different, and people are asking themselves, am I okay with that?
That is actually, I think, the perfect way to sum it all up. This entire conversation over the past month or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's necessary. Like you say, those movies that make us feel the certain way, they're not going anywhere. They're always going to make us feel that way, but they have to keep going. And I was listening to the Red Letter Media Half in the Bag review, and they said something that I actually disagree with, but I understand why they said it. And they were saying, is there anything else left to say? They're concerned that, is there anything left to say in this universe? Like, big weapon, lightsaber battle, stop the weapon, good guys win, but bad guys come back for next one, da-da-da-da. And obviously, for any good storyteller, there are millions of stories you could tell in this universe. But I understand why someone would feel that way, because that's what's been presented to us so many times. And when it isn't, people feel conflicted or up in arms or something. And so, anyway, when I first watched the movie, I realized this, but I realized it even more with hindsight, how I was feeling a weird sensation as they were breaking away from formula I was familiar with. And I've come to appreciate now, especially after a third viewing, I appreciate the break. And I do think it's necessary. And I still have maybe one or two or three things that still like a little itches. That I'll talk about. But I noticed in particular, oh shoot, are we gonna get into spoilers here? I guess we should.
Yes, folks.
I mean, we have to.
Yes, we're going to be spoiling The Last Jedi again. So
yes,
be aware.
Yes. Okay,
but hey, you know what? This is about to become the number 2 movie of all time domestically. I'm guessing y'all seen it.
Yeah. Probably. But just because we love you, spoilers.
And this is the other thing, actually. But Brian, before you go into it, because I don't want to step on that at all. But yeah. the way the conversation has really gone into this realm of alternative facts, where people are pointing to the box office and being like, look, it's flopping. Star Wars is ruined. Rian Johnson ruined Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it's like, folks, this movie is a monster.
Oh, yeah.
You can like or dislike it. That's fine. That's an option to have. But you cannot point to the box office and say it's a flop. It's just not. Right?
Right.
That's number 1. Number 2, poor Mark Hamill.
Oh, man.
So Mark Hamill said like a while ago, right? Like 6 months ago or so, he was like, when Rian Johnson first gave me the script, I told him I fundamentally disagree with how you see this character. But then, But then after talking to him, I realized what he was doing, and I tried to do the best I could to represent his vision. Blah, blah. So now Mark Hamill has become the poster boy for Luke Skywalker does not like this movie.
Yeah.
Which is patently not the case, and what makes this all feel even worse is that Mark Hamill, like 2 days ago, put out a statement on Twitter. I'd like to believe it wasn't like with Mickey Mouse standing behind him with a baseball bat.
I know.
Saying like, I shouldn't have said anything. I had a really great time. Rian Johnson made an all-time great movie, and I do believe he feels that. I think he recognizes the work he does in this film. Mark Hamill, it is superlative in my opinion.
Yes, it's very good. And I gotta say, I don't know that I entirely disagree with him.
No.
I'm still not entirely comfortable with this interpretation of Luke.
No.
But what I've had to do, because I do love these movies and whatnot, is I have to be like, well, this is what they want to do with it. This is where they want to go. This is how they want to shoot Rey off into whatever journey she's going into, and this is what they've decided to do with Luke. And I don't have to 100% agree with it, and I'm not sure that I do still. But at the same time, how well does the movie do what it wanted to do? Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think what he said is what all of us felt, right? Because I think that Luke's journey in this film, we were all of us, him and us, he's just saying what we all were expecting, which is, we'll just pick up where we left off 34 years ago.
Right.
And I think, you look at Mark Hamill in this movie, you look at Carrie Fisher in this movie, and the realization has to kick in either now or eventually that, well, these stories can't be about these characters anymore.
Right.
We want the further adventures of Han Solo and Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker, and we missed the window for that.
Yeah, I think for me it's, and I can appreciate the people that feel this way. It's not the person we expected Luke to end up.
But what's funny is a lot of people have said this, and to me it's like he triumphed at the end of Return of the Jedi, and all this is character assassination. I've heard that a few times.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
which I don't agree with, by the way.
No,
I'm just saying,
that's a lot of nonsense. I think, to me, the notion that somebody who triumphs would then remain in that state of triumph is a misreading of human history and human nature. Right? The idea that Luke's trials would end.
Right.
I find it more compelling. I mean, I think the idea that here he is 30 years later and he's struggling under the weight of the legend of Luke Skywalker.
Right.
Isn't that rich ground for a character?
Well, see, and I think what you said is exactly it, because it's hard for us when we haven't seen him in so long, and we are like, look, finally, he was teased in the first movie, and now this one we finally get to see Luke, and then he's this grumpy guy. It's not what we wanted. Right? However, I have grown to appreciate what the movie is doing with him, which is his journey.
Yeah.
And his journey is that he failed his apprentice.
Yeah.
To the point of almost murdering him. And now he's responsible for, the next worst guy since Darth Vader. And he's living with that and contemplating not only that, but everything he believes. And that's when Rey catches him. And I think on first viewing, it's really hard to accept.
Yes.
Seeing Luke this way after, like the last time we've seen him, Force Awakens notwithstanding, is as a badass hero in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, who saved the day. He saved the galaxy.
Yeah, and I think it does take multiple viewings to be able to take a step outside of your feelings and see what the movie is doing. And I really did come to appreciate his arc in this movie. But it took me a couple viewings.
Yeah, I mean, I think, honestly, what we see here is the type of arc you can have when he's not the face of the franchise anymore.
Yes.
It's a supporting character arc.
Right.
And again, that's it's like, if we're okay with that, then it goes down a little easier.
Yeah.
I think to call it character assassination, which I've heard multiple times, and I think it's just insanity. I don't see that because his arc ultimately is one of redemption and heroism again.
Right.
Right. Like people again, it feels like people are misreading what's in the movie in order to support their pre-existing agenda.
Right.
Because he doesn't try to murder his nephew. He contemplates it for a split second.
Right.
He's about to murder his innocent nephew. It's like, well, he wasn't innocent. He had turned to the dark side.
Right.
Right? And somebody brought this up, which is a good point, that when Luke talks about what happened, he's like, when I woke up, Ben was gone, and he had taken several of the Padawans with him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that means that he had been working on them for a little while.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
No, totally.
So it's all this texture that really, upon multiple viewings, you see it.
Yes.
What were some other things that jumped out at you? I mean, you said you've seen it 3 times now, so I'm assuming you've had time to sort of reprocess things.
Well, I've also come to realize that this is basically a movie about losses.
Yeah,
and
failure.
And I better appreciate what they were going for with Poe's story, which really bumped me the first time I saw it. And I realize I'm not alone on this. Like, this has been brought up by a lot of people, where it's a lot of people have said if Holdo had just told Poe her plan, a lot of chaos could have been avoided, and the Resistance wouldn't be literally 20 people now.
Right.
And it's funny because I felt that way the first time I saw it. I've come to appreciate the fact that Holdo doesn't need to tell him anything. But I still am not entirely sure the movie does a great job of selling all of that.
Yes.
And because he's recently been demoted, and the whole thing, and you brought this up in the last thing, is that he is this guy who shoots first and asks questions later, and he needs to learn,
humility.
Humility, yes, and just, so I'm okay with him even coming up with a plan that is wrong, because and we are, like you said, you brought this up again, and I didn't appreciate it at the time, but I've appreciated it now after the third viewing, is that he comes up with a plan, but it's wrong, and he has to learn that he should have trusted others. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is what you said. You said that we are conditioned for the hero to always be right, even when they're doing subversion, basically. And so we're like, well, this is the Han Solo of this movie, wrongly.
And, he even dresses like Han Solo. He's got the Han Solo jacket.
Yeah, and I after 3 viewings, I'm like, he's not Han Solo, Rey's not Luke Skywalker. I've really had to make that break.
Yeah.
And his whole thing is he goes and sets off on this plan that is incorrect and that costs a lot of lives and has to learn a lesson at the end. I think my only problem is I don't know that the lesson is fully realized. And I don't. I think it's miscommunicated in a couple ways. I think in one way, I think it's very weird that after he literally gets hundreds of people killed, they have this odd moment where Laura Dern and Carrie Fisher are like, I like him. and she's like, me too. And I was like, to me that felt like he's one hell of a pilot line from Force Awakens. And in this one, it's like Poe just completely screwed up our entire operation. Yeah, but I like that guy. So audience, you should still like him.
I agree with that, yeah.
I thought that was very weird. And I still think it's weird.
Here's the problem, Brian. I think the problem is that if you have Princess Leia, like, for real pissed at him...
Yeah.
The character doesn't come back from that.
I agree.
I agree.
And I think then we follow that up with him being like, okay, well, now we got to do something. Oh, in the cave when they're on Crate, he's like, all right, guys, blah, 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 leap into action, Poe again. And then everyone looks to Princess Leia like, so what do you think? And she's like, what are you looking at me for? And I was like, it's a cute line in the moment, but it really subverts every single thing.
Well, but not necessarily though, right? Because look at the context, right? It's
his retreat.
It's retreat.
Okay.
It's let's save lives, right?
This is true. That's okay. That's a good point. Although she still is the the person higher than him, and
I mean that's the moment where, because I watched it with my brother, and he's like, they just passed the torch. Like, he leaned over and said that when she says, "What are you looking at me for?" Right?
That is true. I don't know. I think a lot of this stuff is stuff I'm still having to connect the dots in my head.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because I'm overthinking everything, but I never felt Poe's regret.
Yeah, and I think as close as we get is when they are mounting that attack, and he's like, it's no good, call it off.
Yeah, and I noticed in the third viewing that he notices two guys being picked off.
Yes.
Like, the camera is close on him going, as two people are picked off. But I still don't feel like he appreciates the gravity of what he's responsible for.
I can kind of roll with what we see here. I think, to be honest, it depends greatly on where Poe is at character-wise in the next one.
Yes, and that's another thing I wanted to bring up. These are 3 movies.
That's true.
And we're not done.
Yes. And that's what I keep telling people. I'm like, look, this is Rey's trilogy guest starring Luke. Right. And
I'm okay with that.
And that's the thing. You're either okay with it or you're not.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, right?
Right.
So that's why, like, what I find irksome is sort of this notion that Star Wars has been ruined. It's like, well, no, it's changed.
Yeah.
And maybe it's going to be a thing you don't like, and that's something to figure out. But, like, it's not aimed at 40-year-old men anymore,
Right. Well, it should be.
I mean, I've had this. It's funny because I posted my review on Facebook, and I've never before had any post garner more than 1,000 comments.
My brother, out of the blue, the other day was like, "Holy crap, Zacky's thing's got 800 comments."
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And he was like scrolling through all of them, so it sounds like you got even hundreds more.
Yeah, it's like 1.1K last I saw.
Unbelievable.
And people got opinions, man.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you know what? Here we are 2 weeks out, and we're talking about it. We're picking it apart, and I'm like, that's the fun of it. Like, I'm not going to say The Force Awakens is a bad movie because I don't think that, but I will say we were not picking it apart in the same way.
Something you just said, actually, I want to say, like, you said you got to roll with it, and like I agree with that, actually, and I am rolling with it. I think is where I'm at currently. And like excited to see where the third one goes, and also sort of excited. I'm obviously going to watch this movie several more times in my lifetime. And I have a feeling that the things that I'm having a hard time working through right now, like I will pick up the shorthand of the film where I'm not being as scrutinous, if that's even a word. And, but yeah, I mean, I have to admit that some of those things still bump me a little bit, and I wish they had been spelled out a little differently. But I would say those are the only remaining things that I had a difficult time with. Oh, not even a difficult time. Just sort of like the things that sort of bumped me slightly.
Yeah.
But something that bumped me the first time that doesn't at all now is Snoke being killed.
Oh, sure.
I've come to really appreciate it, actually.
Explain that.
And well, that's another thing. You got to imagine when Kathleen Kennedy read the script for the first time, she was like, "Huh?"
Right.
But like when they put this out, and she has all this faith in Rian Johnson, she's seen this movie hundreds of times. She knows what he was going for, and I feel like I'm catching up to some of these ideas, like Snoke. And I think what I appreciated about it, and I called this out in the first review, was it exactly. I have to imagine intentionally mirrors Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
And you are meant to think, well, this is how Star Wars goes. Conflicted villain, the more powerful evil guy who's like, yes, you will be my apprentice. Your friends are lost, blah, blah, blah. But then the whole thing is turned on its head.
Yeah.
And we're like, no, we're not doing that anymore.
Right.
And I don't think in an obnoxious way. I realize as I said that, we're not doing that anymore. That sounds obnoxious. I don't believe it's done in an obnoxious way. I think it's done that's just not what we're doing here. And then when you think, when Vader turns, Kylo doesn't.
Yeah.
And Rey's like, oh.
It makes Vader's turn more impressive.
Yes. And we're not telling that story. And the only thing, and let me finish that thought by saying I like it. I like what they're doing, and I like that I don't know where it's going. The only thing that makes me a little is this whole seemingly game of improv that seems to be happening with this trilogy as it's handed from one author to the next. And we talked about that in the last time also. Like, it would make me feel a little more comfortable if there's one author sort of overseeing everything. And it doesn't mean that someone needs to be telling everyone what to do per se, but there needs to make me feel like this trilogy, these 3 films demand to be told. It feels like there does need to be some sort of arc.
Well, here's my thought.
It's been thought out.
Here's my thought on that. I think that in a way, it's probably the best thing possible that J.J. Abrams is coming back.
Right, since he kicked it off.
He kicked it off, and so one has to imagine that he had some rough game plan in mind.
Right.
I don't think he was like, well, it's up to the next guy. I think he had a sense like, this is what I would do. This is what I would. I mean, you know what I mean?
I imagine, yeah.
And the fact that he looked at Rian Johnson's script and per all comments, and we have to take it at face value, he was like excited by it, and he's like, I wish I was directing that.
Yeah, I remember that. That was an old quote, but yes.
Yeah, right? And he told Daisy Ridley on The Force Awakens the truth about her parentage.
Uh-huh.
And as far as Daisy Ridley knew, she just assumed that Rian Johnson was privy to that conversation.
Right.
Like, she didn't realize that they came up with that completely separately.
Right.
So to me, all things considered, I feel like J.J. Abrams coming back lends to the idea that there will be more of an overarching plan than there might otherwise have been.
Yeah. And it's not to say that I'm not getting that sense right now. Like I say, I've come to appreciate the things being turned on their heads, but it does. I would like to think it's all done with some forethought of what.
And that's kind of the thing, right? I mean, whatever forethought there is, we're not privy to,
right?
And I think that's making people a little uncomfortable, right?
Right.
And that's manifesting in these very interesting ways. And I've said this all along. I'm like, once people have a chance to view the trilogy holistically, once people can separate the movie from the hype of the moment, their own expectations, I truly believe that this will be thought of as one of the best of the saga.
Right.
I do believe that.
Right. And I especially appreciate what you just said when it's like you can take a step back and remove it from all the hype and living in the moment of it and like just let it be the thing it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, Brian, what's interesting? I was talking to my brother about this. I was like, for basically from the time the credits came up on Return of the Jedi, all of our original characters were sort of frozen in amber.
Yes.
Basically until The Force Awakens. Especially if you take into account all the expanded universe stuff and everything, because Han Solo was out there having adventures with Luke Skywalker, and they were just, and so the fact that we're here in the real world where people are not frozen in amber and we do have to move on, right? And so that's a hard transition to make.
Right.
Realizing that you don't matter in the same way.
Right.
And so to a certain extent, that's the realization Mark Hamill has been working through.
Huh. Yeah.
Right? Star Wars was the story of Luke Skywalker, and everything revolves around him.
Right.
It isn't that anymore. And so, people are going to work through that. And they're not wrong for feeling...
feelings?
Feeling feelings,
Yeah, yeah.
Because that tells you how deeply we've connected with these films.
Yep.
But I think once the minute it was decided that the saga was going to continue and there would be episode 7, 8, and 9 and probably 10, 11, 12 and whatever, well, it's going to move further and further away from whatever it was you connected with. And by the way, that goes just as much to the people who came in with the prequels.
Right.
And it's eventually going to mean the same thing for people who came in with this trilogy. I mean, that's just how it is.
Yeah. And frankly, that should be exciting.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, Drew McWeeny on Twitter said, there have been 50 years worth of James Bond movies.
Right.
You're not going to like them all.
Right.
And that's where we are with Star Wars. It's when you think about it, it's kind of amazing that that original trilogy was able to hold such cultural sway for as long as it did, all by itself.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary, I don't view that as a bad thing, and I'll tell you why. Because this past Halloween, I don't even know how many times I saw these little girls all dressed up like Rey, waving their lightsabers around.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's it, man,
Yeah. Rey's a wonderful character, and Daisy Ridley is like a 1 in a million find, and I mean, I totally agree with you. It's fine. I've seen some people online criticize her acting, and I'm like, I don't see it. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't see it at all. Yeah. And I don't know that I picked up on this on the first time, but that moment when she's reaching her hand out for the rain by the Falcon, because it's likely the first time she's ever seen rain.
Oh, wow. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, and she has this huge, like, dopey grin on her face. And the first time I was like, I wonder... I noticed it, but I didn't think too much about it. And then the second time I was like, oh, she's probably never seen rain.
How funny. Yeah.
And... I mean, and that's something I wanted to do next was, I mean, these are the things that I'm still like, they bump me slightly, but I'm learning to accept them. And I think eventually I will understand them and roll with them and whatnot. But there's so much good in this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I really love Yoda. I really love Holdo's light speed kamikaze mission.
Right.
It's every time it still takes your breath away.
Which, by the way, I don't know if you've seen this, but theaters are having to put up notices.
Yeah.
That let people know, hey, it's gonna get like pitch quiet for a second.
Yeah,
that's normal. Don't complain to us, please.
Right. And the crate battle is pretty breathtaking visually.
Yeah, and distinct. It's distinctive.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to it. I have enjoyed it all 3 times.
Yeah.
Like I say, the first time I was like, a lot of process.
Right. I think, honestly, like I really just plug into Luke's arc in a big way. I find, like, it's just, to me, a tragic hero is so much richer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it works on so many meta levels where it's like the character in the movie is competing with his own legend the same way we are watching the movie comparing it with his legend in the other movies.
Yeah. And I feel bad, that people have walked out and haven't enjoyed it to such a degree. But I do, like you say, I do think it's exciting that they're like, well, we're going to try something different. And it's going to be a tough pill to swallow. And it doesn't mean you're not a fan if you don't like it. I want to say, because I've noticed, like you say, it seems like there's a lot of people taking hard sides.
Yeah.
And it's like, not everyone has to like it. But I do appreciate that they're trying to forge a path.
Yeah, you've got people saying if you don't like it, you've never been a real fan.
Right.
And people saying if you do like it,
right,
you're not a real fan.
Right.
And this is all exhausting. I feel like I'm just too old for this type of nonsense.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Now, real quickly, while we're talking Star Wars, we still haven't heard anything about the Han Solo movie.
Which seems weird because it's so close. And such a huge movie, you think by now we would certainly have a teaser. But on the other hand, I totally understand not wanting to kill Last Jedi's flow.
Yes.
So it's kind of like a weird, complicated thing that I don't know what they're doing. But it seems like then in January for certain we should be getting trailers and stuff.
I think we'll get the first trailer for sure in a few weeks.
Yeah.
But a piece of promo art leaked yesterday, which is being. Some people are saying it's legit. Some people are saying it's not. It sure looks legit to me.
Yeah, because we've had a few leaked things that had turned out to be false. Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, but this one, yeah.
It's a piece of art that some people are saying possibly merchandising art, where you can see Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo, you can see Emilia Clarke and also Donald Glover as Lando, and then a slightly different looking Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
And it occurred to me, I'm like, the first clue to me that it may not be photoshopped is the fact that they don't have Alden Ehrenreich wearing a black vest.
That's a good point. Yeah,
doesn't that feel like that would be the thing that they would, like, that's the first thing they would do?
Yeah, totally.
He's not wearing Han Solo clothes.
Right.
And I'm like, who would think to do that?
Right.
You know?
And it's interesting, the Millennium Falcon's got blue paint on it.
Yeah, and if
like
you look, like
trim.
the mandibles in the front are kind of like filled in.
Yeah.
And longer. And I was like, well, I mean, he did say he made a lot of special modifications, right?
Yeah.
Now I got to tell you, I'm still excited for this movie. I'm more excited now because I said this last time. I see the utility of these anthology movies because it really does let us lean into that nostalgia.
Yes.
As Star Wars becomes all kinds of different things, it'll be nice every once in a while. I'll be like, oh, this is that era that I like. And you can do that with these movies, by the way.
Yeah, and with Last Jedi out, there's definitely a sort of come down period where you're like, oh, I was anticipating this so much, and now I got to wait 2 more years. I'm like, oh no, wait, I only got to wait a couple months, and I get another Star Wars movie. It's
funny. I was watching Rogue One the other day, and it's the scene where Director Krennic meets Darth Vader, and I'm watching that, and I'm like, that's a scene with Darth Vader that did not exist 2 years ago.
Right.
And it really occurs to you, you're like, we got like brand new Darth Vader. I'm like, that's what you can do with these movies now.
Mm-hmm.
You can do stuff like that. So I'm looking at this, and obviously, people are calling this a cash grab, and it's cynical and everything else. To me, very simple. If the writer of The Empire Strikes Back tells me he's got an origin of Han Solo he thinks is worth telling, I'm there. I want to see it.
I think, and honestly, I'd forgotten that.
Yeah.
That Lawrence Kasdan wrote it. So I think if they lean into that and sell it with that, I think that's going to help people quite a bit.
Yeah. And there's a rumor floating it out there right now that Disney is already anticipating it's going to flop. I don't know, but I can't imagine that that's the case. I don't think you bring in Ron Howard because you think it's going to flop.
Right.
And Paul Bettany has said that they basically let Ron Howard keep shooting because they were liking so much what he was doing.
Right.
I don't think you do that if you're expecting it to flop. And I think for all the complaints, for all the people who are like, this is gonna suck, they're gonna watch it.
Oh, for sure.
So I mean, they know what they're doing. I don't believe for 1 second Disney actually thinks this is gonna flop. And even though it's gonna be more expensive than The Last Jedi once you factor in the additional shooting.
Oh yeah, good point.
So I mean, we'd be looking at like $400 million potentially.
Wow.
But I mean, when you think about it, like, I mean, that's a lot of money. But it's a Star Wars movie has the advantage of the initial release window is not the only time you're going to make money on it.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because you're going to have merchandise, you're going to have box sets for like ever.
Right.
Yeah. So I think people should. I was going to say settle down. That sounds condescending. I don't mean that. I think people should. What's the word I'm looking for? Just settle in.
Yeah.
Not settle down. Settle in. Just enjoy the ride. Some of these you're going to like. Some of them you're not. Enjoy what you like.
I do appreciate though that like we already said it, but that is a whole new concept.
Yeah.
For Star Wars, but that's what we're living in.
But you know what's funny though, Brian, is you and me, we went through this already in 99 and 2002.
I know. Yeah, that's a very good point. That's a very good point.
Like, it's weird. Brian, I said this on this show. I said this after the sale. We can go back into the archives and look it up. I was like, there's going to be that day where for all the ways people shit on George Lucas, they'll be like, man, they should have respected George Lucas's vision.
yeah.
And it's happening. It's already happening. Yep. I'm not saying I can see the future, but I can see the future. And part of that future, Brian, is I said part of that future is another Star Wars movie in just 5 months.
Yeah, I am curious, and I'm fine with it, Lucas, not being involved anymore. But I am curious what his vision for the 789 was.
Oh my God! Somebody needs to make a movie about like fanboys breaking into Lucasfilm and like stealing his treatment for the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, because Mark Hamill in some of his statements has said like, "Oh man, George's idea," and I'm like, "Well, two men know what it is."
See, I'm of two minds because I'm like, if J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy looked at that and were like, yeah, you know what, let's do this instead, there had to be a reason.
Totally. Oh, totally. It's just for curiosity's sake. Oh, I'm sorry. You said you were of two minds. What's the other? I
mean, the other mind is of course I want to see what his initial idea was. But I'm like, I almost feel like were they protecting his legacy by being like, you know what, people are not going to like that.
Yeah. And I can also appreciate it's like, well, this is ours now. And we bought this.
One thing we do know for certain is that his original plan was for a female lead. Who the name of the character is actually the same as Emilia Clarke's character in the Han Solo movie. I don't have it in front of me.
Oh, interesting.
That was the plan, and it was going to be the first film would have been Luke training his apprentice, and then bringing in Han Solo later. And what they did was they flipped it, and they made Han Solo become the father figure, and then bring in Luke later.
Oh, that's interesting.
That is from the Art of the Last Jedi book.
Oh, I have that. I just haven't really had time to thumb through it yet.
Brian doesn't read books. He looks at the pictures, and that's it.
Yeah.
So that's in there somewhere. I haven't looked at it, but I saw that online.
Yeah, and it's not for a longing for what could have been, but it's just I remember
curiosity.
When Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came out, everyone was making a big deal about Frank Darabont's script.
Yes. Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, oh, if only I could read that script. And then like literally 3 days later it leaked. I was like, oh, well, all right.
That's right. I'm sure one day it'll come out.
Yeah, and then you read it and you're like, oh, that's interesting, and then you just move on with your life.
And by the way, I mean, I'm going to assume he's genuine when he says this. George Lucas said he thought it was a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I'd really love to know his. Wouldn't you love to hear him on a podcast talking for 2 hours?
God, are you kidding me? That would be amazing.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good place to wrap up this discussion. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
I feel like this was really the epilogue to our previous episode.
Yeah. Right.
But we'll be back in the new year with our best of 2017 picks.
Oh man, I always love doing that.
It's always fun for me too. So that's coming up in our next episode. And between now and then, we may have a special commentary track dropping as a New Year's present. So keep an ear peeled for that. Brian, what do you want to hype up for people as we head into the new year?
I say check out Puppy Dog Pals. It's where I work currently, and I think it's a really fun show. It's on Disney and Disney Junior.
There we go. And as for me, you can find me at my website, ZackysCorner.com. That's ZAKIS Corner. That's also my Twitter. That's also my Instagram. You can also hear my thoughts about The Last Jedi on the Lords of Film podcast, hosted by Justin Shanlin, as well as an upcoming episode of Discovery Debrief. There's been no shortage of me talking about The Last Jedi. I've been proselytizing about this movie. People have been very gracious in asking me to come on and talk to them, so that's been a lot of fun for me. And with that, I'm going to wrap up this episode. If you do want to reach out to us, please let us know your thoughts on the show. Moviefilmpodcast@gmail.com. You can also hit like on our Facebook page, facebook.com/moviefilmpodcast. Please go to iTunes and leave a review, leave a star rating. Every little bit helps, and we appreciate hearing from you, and we appreciate all the people who checked out our previous episode, our most listened to in quite a while, so thanks so much for that.
Yeah. Very cool.
It's very nice, so we hope you will stick around. And on behalf of my co-host Brian Hall, my name is Zaki Hassan. This has been Movie Film 138. Thanks everybody for listening.
Welcome, friends, it's the Movie Film Podcast. The Movie Film Podcast, enjoy the show. Zaki and Brian.